joining us from. We are a global community, so it's difficult to give a one-time welcome to anyone ever. My name is Jane Bullen. I'm the Managing Director of Nutrition Network, and I'm joined today by the amazing Colleen Joy Page. Colleen, thank you so much for being here with us. Welcome. Welcome to our space and our community.
Thank you. It's always an absolute pleasure to show up and have my pom-poms ready to cheer on the Nutrition Network, for sure.
Thank you so much. So those of you that are part of our advisor community and our coach community will know Colleen, of course, anyway, and will already know her from her work that she does in our advisor training. So she is the master coach that takes you through the journey that you go on as you train with us to become an advisor. So you will know her. She doesn't need an introduction to those of you that have done the advisor training. To the rest of you, she is an incredibly accomplished master coach. As I said, she's our host from a coaching perspective on our advisor training, and she's also an internationally acclaimed public speaker, and published author. She's taught over 35,000 people in 60 countries. She is known for a lot of other work that she does in the world in addition to her coach work, and her coaching business is called Inner Life Skills. And we were discussing it before. I could spend 10 minutes introducing her, but she said she'd rather talk about her work and its impact. So Colleen, is there anything to add to that? And thank you for...
Oh, that's very kind. I mean, it's really, let's roll up our sleeves and help the folks that are listening.
On with it. So, and that's, yes, absolutely. So that brings us to why we're here today. So we've launched this Nutrition Network, something new. It's something we haven't done before. So we thought we'd jump on live just to talk to you a little bit about it, about what we're doing, why we want to do this, where it's come from, and what our intention is for it. And I think it comes very much from the fact that we started as a medical training institution at Nutrition Network. So it was very much founded to train medical professionals in ketogenic application, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, treatments of chronic disease. And some years later, we realized that there was no way we could carry on doing what we were doing without bringing in coaches and health coaching into our community. And that was when we created what's the advisor training. And we have many hundreds of people from all over the world that have done this training and are taking it into their coaching practices. Beyond that, there is our coach certification, which brings in another group of master coaches, one of which is Tracy McBeath, who is going to do the second part of this two-part series that we're bringing to you called Master Coach. And what this really is, Colleen's section is a bundle of talks that she is going to be offering. I want to almost call them workshops, and it's called Coach Business Revolution. Colleen, do you want to talk us through a little bit about what you're intending and what you're going to bring to this?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure you've heard it. I've heard it. It breaks my heart when I hear about skilled, competent, capable advisors, coaches, consultants who still are trying to grab their machete and carve their way through the jungle of creating a sustainable practice. And they're usually in one of two stages. They're either at that start stage or they're at the scaling stage. When they're at the start stage, their challenges are, how do I find clients? They're usually indoctrinated into the idea that they're supposed to pick a niche, perfect a product, and launch that into the world. They feel overwhelmed by technology, and they're facing a whole bunch of challenges. So there is somebody who's put in the effort to be certified, to get knowledge and skills like your community, and then they're struggling to make it happen. And then there's disappointment and sometimes even letting the dream die. And then people who have had some traction, who have started to get clients, and their problem is a little bit different. They usually find themselves slaves to their diaries and they're selling hours, and they don't know how to break through the ceiling of, how do I actually uncap my business? How do I go on holiday? And a lot of folks start this road to make a difference in people's lives, and also because they want the freedom of charting their own destiny, being self-employed, and then they find themselves not being free. So those are the two big areas that I'm very passionate about helping coaches to unniche themselves, because that's a huge part of the problem. And every coach that I've worked with that is struggling, literally, when I ask them, when I deep dive, turns out they've believed that they're supposed to pick a niche. And we can go into that as much as you'd like to, Jane, but that's a big part of the problem. And so either helping people who are in that start stage to overcome the inner and outer obstacles that keep them, hold them back, or to help folks that are actually getting some traction to change their mindset for scaling, and to do so in a way without having to be cheesy, sleazy. Because a lot of the folks that we serve, you and I, and the teams that we're involved in, we're about ethical, integrous business, and therefore we don't want our marketing to be incongruent with that. So that's the intention, is me showing up to the community, the Nutrition Network community, offering my extensive years of experience and expertise to really pinpoint the exact things that are in the way, that are holding people back, and to show up also in a very personal level. I think we all know we can YouTube things, we can ask chat bots these days. So the missing ingredient is that one-on-one expertise, the interaction, the engagement, the timely help me right now with what I'm facing today, unlocking and unsticking. So that's really what my intention is.
So obviously that's, for those of you that have done our advisor training and our online trainings, this is quite a departure, because this is going to be a very interactive, mentorship based series of engagements, or I want to call them mini workshops almost. Would that be the correct way to describe it, Colleen?
I think so, yeah. Hands-on, roll up your sleeves.
So you're not going to be able to hide behind your camera and necessarily just watch from the bath. This is going to be quite an engaged forum. In the way that I think we see it is maybe somewhere between doing the advisor training and the certification, where you are like really in the fire and are there for 4 months on an intensive journey. So we're hoping that this will support those of you that are, as we said, in the advisor community, that are, and you described it so beautifully, Colleen. I know so many times in my life where I've done these trainings and these things, and I've also put in the hours, and I've got it everything, I've done it all right and perfectly and set it all up. And then it's like, where are the people? Where's the work? How's it coming into me now? And how am I going to market this business? And those are things that one doesn't always necessarily anticipate. It is a common thing that come from, I'm not going to say all of our coaches. We have a lot of advisors and coaches that do launch their businesses straight away to success. And we do have fully booked coaches. So there's groups within this community. And over the next months, we're going to bring in different coaches that have had different experiences to share them with you and to support you better in this journey. And why are we doing it as Nutrition Network? Because we really believe in coaches. And it's not just, oh, like we want everyone to have a coach. We have seen the evidence and we've seen the science. So a study that's coming out recently, has come out, the data's come out, is being published in the next while, by Dr. Neville Wellington and some collaborators, was based on this exact model, which is where they had people with continuous glucose monitors, type 2 diabetics, and then ones that had a coach and ones that didn't have a coach. And what we see is that the combination of clever therapeutic carbohydrate restriction treatment of diabetes and other chronic diseases and a coach is what is optimal. And that results in much more significant impact and success for patients. So we're doing it because we know it works, and we want our medical community to start to support, understand, and engage much more than they have in the past with coaches, because we know that that's the model for success. And we're knowing that more and more as the addiction work comes through, as behavioral change becomes so important within our communities. We want people to succeed. We believe in diabetes reversal. We know that it works. Virta Health has been a leader globally in that, where there's a very, very heavy coach connection. So we want our advisors to succeed, and we want you to win. So I think that's the premise of this particular series, is to say, okay, what are you being challenged by and how are we going to overcome that? So talk to me a little bit. I really loved what you said about, we're going to go into the details of the training a bit later, but you talked about unniching. And I actually wrote it down because that's such a, niching in coaching has become such a buzzword. Share a little bit more about your journey and why you no longer, or why you don't think niching is the right approach.
So niching has a place. It belongs in the shop window, not in the shop, right? So let's just take a step back. just during the lockdowns of the last few years and the pandemic and all the insanity and the restrictions, I became really concerned about my coaching community, my coaches and trainers and consultants. So I reached out and I did a couple of crazy things. I opened my diary for about 3 months and let coaches that hadn't even trained with me book time. I opened my patio and invited some of my core leadership group. They're licensed practitioners and trainers, and brought them, that as soon as the lockdowns were finished, brought them over, fed them, talked to them. And then I ran a monthly masterclass where also opened my diary, spoke to anything between 20 and 60 people in a group. And I was listening. And the thing that's shocked me, I couldn't find an example of a successful coach, right, who had 5 years plus under their belt, who was so busy, they were in the scaling part of the challenge. They really busy, successful coaches. I couldn't find one that had niched. In fact, when I asked them, what kind of coaching are you offering these days? What services are you offering? They would give me a list. And it would always be a little bit of this, a little bit of that for those people, for these people. For example, at the same time, it was like the final confirmation. I decided I went to a 50th birthday party of one of our successful graduates. His name's Ed. He doesn't mind me telling the story. And I was literally inundated with some of his clients rushing up to me. Thank you, Ed's amazing, Ed's amazing. And this is what it sounded like. Ed helped me with my marriage. Ed helped me with my teenager. And then, oh, and Ed's also helping 6 of my executive corporate teams. So the message was again and again and again that the coaches that were really getting through even tough economic times were unniched. So what I mean is, you be unniched. That keeps you flexible. It keeps you agile. It keeps you doing the most important thing, which is listen to the person in front of you. And especially in the starting stage, this means that you can custom build solutions for the people in front of you. And that's so necessary, especially for, I think, the first year or two of building a coaching or consulting practice. The coaches that were struggling, that I spoke to around the world, when I said to them, are you trying to pick a niche? They said yes, because that's what they're told to do. They look online, they sign up for courses, and everyone says the secret to success is you have to pick a niche so that you can target your message to that niche. Now, here's the irony. I'm not saying that that's not important. It's important when you build your shop window. But a lot of folks are trying to build their shop window first before they know what's in the shop. And the other metaphors that I use for this is, it's like somebody who wants to be a chef, let's say, and they've just started learning. Now, sometimes they take this niching so far that even before they've finished all their studies, they think they're supposed to pick a niche. Now you pick pastry chef, and you narrow down on that, then you graduate or you get certified and you put yourself out there as a specialist French pastry chef and struggle to get business. Today's world is a different world. Everyone's used to in the on-demand help. Someone can type a question in online and get an AI talking to them for half an hour and sort all their problems, to beat the bots and to be agile. What works is to have the kind of toolbox and the kind of skills that means that you show up with your expertise, with your knowledge, but you stay flexible. Now you listen to people. And so this removes the blinkers, Jane. It removes this little tight, these little blinkers. If one of the Nutrition Network advisors has decided they want to specialize in the niche of let's say people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and they get told, no, you've got to narrow that down even more. What happens is they just start narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. And next minute, they're sitting next to somebody who has a relatable problem or some other problem that they have tools and skills to help. And they literally can't see that person. And they don't realize that they can custom build something for the person sitting in front of them. The only time to niche is in the scaling stage of the business, which means you've proven a product, you've proven a service, because you've gotten consistent yeses from similar people for similar products. And if you need to at that point, and many don't, by the way, most of my successful graduate master coaches, they're so busy, they don't have websites, they don't have any digital marketing at all. If you even need to, then yes, if you write a book, it needs to be very niched. If you put content on a platform, it even should be streamed and niched for that platform. So like TikTok has a different culture and audience to YouTube. So niching is important for the shop window. But what happens is people, our beautiful coaches and consultants, they climb into the niche box with their products and they become limited by it. So I'm saying you keep yourself unniched so that you are future-proofing your business, so that you have potentially multiple streams of revenue and income, so that you're not relying on only one tiny little pocket of people that you struggle to find, that won't hear you, that might be very competitive, that you stay open and flexible, trusting your skills, trusting your knowledge, and rather go the road of custom build, click, 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 till you get yes, 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 love it, love it, love it, yes, yes, yes. And then, that's a winner, put that in the shop window and niche your message around that. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. Absolutely. Totally. So I'm going to come back and ask you, what are the biggest challenges that you've seen? And I know you touched on them earlier. When coaches what do they struggle the most with when they finish their certification and they hit the road and they go, right, I'm building this business now? What are the stumbling blocks?
Well, there's I always refer to inner and outer obstacles. So the outer obstacles tend to be technology. They look outside themselves and they look at what they think is working in the world. So they'll see someone online that has thousands of followers and a lot of content, and then they think that they're supposed to do that to be successful and to attract. They feel like they have to get out there somehow. And then they hit these walls of technological overwhelm, thinking they have to make videos, thinking they have to make content, thinking they have to build websites. Some do invest a lot of time and money in these things. And again, the problem is they're building shop windows before they have their shop sorted. And so that's like some of the outer obstacles. The inner obstacles, procrastination and perfectionism. I have a little motto: professional, not perfect. So what happens is that honestly, sometimes they spend 3 months, I call it faffing over a font, thinking that a logo or a font is going to make or break their business. Whereas in fact, it's got very little impact. Ultimately, it is a part of the scheme of things. But the more important thing is, okay, metaphor time. You know, I've got a bazillion metaphors, but the biggest barrier, I think, is you imagine a wall. On the one side of the wall is the me song, me as in me as a coach, me as my skills, me, the thing I love to do, me, my path, the reason I wanted to do this, my expertise. The other side of the wall is you, all the potential people out there that you could serve. Coaches spend too much time, advisors spend too much time on the me side of the wall. They really do. And they sit at their desks and try to perfect products on that side of the wall. So they sit agonizing over pricing and over the structure of a program. It's premature. You know, the best programs that are made in the fire of the client experience, which means cross over the wall. And then when you cross over the wall, you're going to say, well, then how do I find people? So now here's the thing. Instead of saying niche, I like to clarify with simple language. I call it pockets of people. So instead of one niche, and you start to experiment with pockets of people. And I love what Seth Godin, he's one of my favorite resources for a marketing voice. And his latest book called This is Marketing is very helpful. I love it. And he talks about the smallest possible viable market. And that mindset is, instead of thinking you need thousands of likes and huge databases, and I'm going to translate Seth into my language, go find pockets of people, 3 people, 10 people, one person. And then the next thing you do is you go with an open hand. And an open hand means no cheesy, sleazy sales tactics, no infomercial, no elevator pitch, no Pac-Man grabby, none of that. And this is the language of it. The language is having a conversation with another person to find out where they're struggling, where they're suffering, and to start the conversation with something like this. Based on what you're telling me, I'm not sure, and I'm underlining that, but I think I may have some tools and expertise that can help you. And I'm underlying, I'm not sure. And folks that hear me when I teach them this, there's this breath of relief. You mean we can say that, Cole? You mean we can say we're not sure? Yeah, because it's the truth. The truth is, I'm not sure, but I think I might be able to help you. That is very different from, I can help you. I got the magic bullet for you. It's a 3-point plan. It's 6 weeks. It costs X amount. This is I'm not sure, but, because it's honest, it's an open hand. And this is where the 2 next things is, then you co-create a custom solution in a conversation. This means sitting with somebody and figuring out what they've tried before, what hasn't worked. And you said earlier about how they've proven, or there's a lot of data to support that coaching can be that extra X factor to help people really get and reverse their type 2 diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. That's because when a coach does their job properly, it's a partnership. And it's not a plus to minus kind of relationship. I'm telling you what to do. It's a partnership. And partnerships mean co-creation. They mean customization. Now, why can't the enrollment process and the marketing process be exactly the same? And it's so refreshing, and it's so original, and it's such a breath of fresh air that a lot of people are just, wow. And you're so genuinely interested. Now, at any point during that conversation, if you realize you can't help the person, you've looked through all your tools and you realize it's not the right time, you don't have the expertise, they can't afford you, there's nothing to lose. You just refer them to the book that's cheap, or you send them along, you shake their hand and you wish them well. But if there's a little bit of a yes happening, that's a possibility. You could end the conversation with, I'm going to go away and think about everything you've told me, and hopefully you've made notes and you really are thinking about it, and I'm going to see what I can come up with to help you. And you go away, and now you create a draft 2 or 3 outline programs for the person, starting with low risk, small, easy on-ramp, a little bit more robust, to a complete program. You price it loosely, you still remain flexible, and then you have your follow-up conversation where you say to the person, look, based on what you've said, these are the kinds of thoughts I have. Number 1, number 2 could look like this, could look like, what do you think? You ask an open question, not a closed question, not a yes, no question. And the person goes, hey, I like that, but I don't like this. I like that. And now you make them a product they will love because they co-created with you.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
And then
That's it.
it's really a natural thing. There's no selling, there's only sharing and serving. And Jen, this approach, it works. It works. And this is, you don't need any of the bump. You don't need any of the flashy. It's human, it's beautiful. And if you think this won't work for large scale projects, it's not true. I have sat in boardrooms pitching for multi-million rand corporate work. And when I've showed up for the first meeting, the one that's coming to mind was the head of talent. And he said to me, "Where's your presentation? Where's your business card?" And I said, I don't do that. I start with a conversation. And then, yes, after that meeting, went back, created the beginning of a product, and round 2 of the pitching, and round 3 perfected it till we won a deal, and they're still a client today, a multinational client. So it's the human touch. It's the I've listened to you so much that I'm willing to look amongst my tools and my expertise and show up to be that go-to person for you. And this means that people rave about it afterwards because it delivered more than they hoped. They're also willing to pay more, by the way, for customized product than off the shelf, pushed onto you type of thing.
It's amazing.
And then after you get, as I said, if you get like about 5 or 10 similar people who keep wanting the same kind of thing, and the programs end up looking similar, you've found a potential niche for one stream of income, and you may want to build a shop window for that. You might want to build content for that. You might want to have a website, a social media campaign, and then you double down so that you can now scale your business. And that's a whole other discussion. But I hope that's helpful.
Love that. I feel the sense of exhale listening to you talk in this way, because I think what we see is particularly patients with chronic disease, which is, chronic disease is quite complex. It takes 20 to 40 years to get it and to get to that endpoint. And then one is diagnosed in a medical environment and put into a very, very structured way that you are meant to be treated. And it's a very masculine, staccato, yang approach. And what coaching brings in is this sense of, I'm going to work with you. We're going to customize your plan. We're not going to put you through a sort of military regime necessarily, but we're
a machine.
Curious. And that's exactly what we want to bring in as coaches or as a coach community into healthcare, is we want to bring in customization, individualization, bioindividuality, and actually kind of responsiveness on a patient's healing journey. So it makes so much sense what you're saying. And I'm curious, coaches and advisors, if you're listening, please ask away. Hopefully I'll get them. The team will send them questions to me. If there's something specific you want to give us, want to ask us, want to bring into this conversation, please ask away. It's really, really amazing to have you here, Colleen. You are such a wealth of knowledge. And I'm not sure if the advisor community knows you personally yet, even though of course you teach quite a bit of the body of work on that training. Your experience that's going to come through in these particular series of lectures that you're going to give is so important in terms of this. It's in terms of how to really focus your business. So the actual training, let's talk a little bit about this. It's called Coach Business Revolution, which is a stunning name. And I've got here
obviously a nod to
some other revolutions that we've been working.
Yes.
So I've got here a list of amazing kind of outputs that people are going to get from signing up for this. Should I read through those and then you can talk to them? So what we're saying the outputs are going to be of this is that you're going to break free from the niche trap and uncap your business. You're going to get unstuck from procrastination and perfection prisons. You're going to start and scale a purposeful, profitable coaching practice without selling your soul. You're going to learn 2 must-have flexible coaching tools to help your clients beat their inner obstacles. You're going to spot your marketing and product creation mistakes. You're going to use what you've got and what you know to find new clients and grow your business. You're going to create products clients love so much that they begin to refer others. and you're going to know by the end of this how to scale and grow your income streams. Wow, that's quite a lot that you're giving in these. Talk us through what the process is going to be, how it's going to look. It's a series of 5 lectures or classes. Tell us what they're going to look like a little bit.
Yeah, so what I'm really hoping for is a very small group so that we can get super customized and super personal. Because there's, in all my years, there's one thing telling somebody and there's other things showing people. As an author, it's something you learn when you write. There's a cardinal rule of writing, which is show, don't tell. Show is you demonstrate. So the best way, honestly, is to actually demonstrate. So we have conversations. For example, a lot of people have more to offer than they even realize. They've let's say they've got this one little piece of knowledge. Let's just put it on the table as like something on the buffet, right? They've got this one little piece of knowledge amongst others and other skills. And they may have put that little piece of knowledge or expertise into its own little box because of the way they've labeled it. And they don't realize that one little nugget has possibly hundreds of applications. And so the first approach is actually to sit with everybody and to go, all right, let's unpack where you are now. Because another big mistake, especially when it comes to folks that are deeply in love with knowledge. And as somebody who loves knowledge, I understand we're lifelong learners. True. But a lot of folks keep feeling like they don't have enough yet. They don't have enough to be of real service. They don't have enough to put themselves out there in any kind of substantial way. So they feel like they endlessly have to go back and study more. And of course, that's the beautiful, as a side note, that's the beauty of the hybrid of what I call blended coaching, which is a mix of expertise like consulting and pure coaching, where a pure coach actually knows how to help without giving any advice. And of course, a mental consultant is advising, and the mix is pretty special. So anyway, the first point is to look at those little individual little some things, that buffet of skills, and to really open up the blinkers to uncap what are the possibilities. So, when I take coaches through a system of business building, the first step, I call it a spiral instead of a step, because a spiral staircase you revisit. And business growth is exactly the same. You revisit the same things again and again, but you improve them every time. So the first spiral is always what I call blue sky thinking, which is unleashing your mind. It's realizing, oh my word, I didn't even think about the fact that one little thing that I know how to do or that I have expertise on has so many possible markets. So I call it also there's a little model that I use called the 3 circles, which is purpose, people, and product. So a lot of alliteration to make it easy to remember. But purpose it belongs to who I think I am. It makes my sap rise. It lights me up inside. That gives me the fuel to carry on. So tick, I love what I do. Second, people is to unlock the possible, like just what we were saying, the pockets of people, to really see and to really realize just how many pockets of people you could potentially serve. And then to also start experimenting with possible products, possible programs, in case there's one little gem of an idea that's like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And that makes your whole world new and unique. Just a random example. I taught a woman from Switzerland, a stunning woman she actually arrived at us as a nutrition advisor, not with Nutrition Network, but in her tradition. And she was motivated by the fact that she had 2 diabetic sons, young sons. She wanted traditional coaching skills, so we trained her up. And along the way, we gave her a whole lot of tools. And a lot of times she kept saying, no, these tools aren't relevant to me because what I do is lifestyle. And the one week she said to us, she says, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Because I challenged her to undo the blinkers, right? To really, instead of showing up with the little boxes of this is what I can do and this is only what I can do, I challenged her. And that week, her business took a huge step of breakthrough and uncapping. She was sitting in front of a gentleman who was overweight, who was struggling, and he knew what to do. A lot of people do know what to do. And by the time the nutrition advisors give the information, people do have the knowledge. But, and there's the big but, right? They hit inner obstacles. And those inner obstacles are the things that derail them. And so she took the blinkers off for that session and custom built something for the gentleman sitting in front. She says to me, Carl, he started crying. They did some work around some of the baggage he was carrying systemically from his family, that he had inherited some mindset from previous generations. He handed back some of those burdens. They did this beautiful inner obstacle coaching session. And as a result, that put him on the straight and narrow. And now he could actually commit to and go through with the lifestyle changes that he knew were critical for him. Point being, she didn't realize she could do that. She didn't know that she had that kind of agility, that kind of flexibility. And as a result of opening up to possibilities, she was able to serve a client at a higher level. You think that client's going to tell 3 friends? Probably. You think that's going to make an impact on her business? Yes, she's now too busy. So that's where I want to start. I want to start with possibilities, then talk about how to create winning programs, how to create winning products. And then one of the things you mentioned, I want to give everybody the 2 tools that are my favorite go-to tools for helping with inner obstacles, because I suspect, I'm not more than a suspicion, I'm pretty sure that that's where your advisors have their biggest challenge, that when the clients struggle, they struggle. What else do you do other than giving someone the data and showing them that this is what they need to do? They need to restrict carbohydrates. They need to, what else can you do but actually go and work on their inner obstacles? How do you help them? And what the traditional approach is to get rid of it, to get rid of negative thinking, to reframe, to challenge limiting beliefs. Those are the traditional coaching approaches. And I don't mean to sound like funny in my tone, but they're not bad and they can work, but they often come up short. So I really also would love the opportunity to equip these amazing advisors that you serve and that serve many people with 1 or 2 little methods that are really about transforming the inner obstacle and making the inner quote unquote enemy into an ally. And it's a different approach. Instead of pushing at things which push back, you transform it. You work at its level. And so those are the kinds of things we're going to do, as well as, and one more thing, is I want to look at people's websites if they have, look at their brands and give them the quick snapshot of what's missing. Also adjust expectations. A lot of people think a website's going to solve my business, and then it doesn't 9.9 out of 10 times. And there's an appropriate digital presence for starting, and there's a different digital presence for scaling. And they really have a different level of expectation. And when you start your businesses, there's 2 or 3 minimum requirements, credibility being one, and having a way for people to connect with you. But if you try to do more than that, you're probably going to confuse people, waste time and money. And so there's a way to quickly measure credibility, connection, done, done, done. And then if somebody's on the scaling side, if they really are there, we can even talk about how to adjust their digital marketing. But yeah, happy to give feedback. And then along with that comes clarity. In a world of noise, a lot of people don't realize that if you don't get to the point in 2 seconds, you've lost people. And a lot of folks will use academic language, especially, I would say, in the world of lifestyle, nutrition, wellness, health.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they don't write. They write in an academic way, and then they wonder why people can't hear them. I always say, pretend you are listening to your clients talking over a cup of coffee or talking on text. They're not going to say, I want to optimize my nutritional input, or, they're not going to talk about even liberating their potential. They're not going to use language like that. They're going to say things like, I'm tired of being tired. And when folks are building shop windows, or when they are communicating, it's also critical to shift into that kind of clear human language.
Makes so much sense. I love what you said. I'm actually making notes just for myself, and also because you have such a brilliant way of segmenting things. And I think the way you talk about starting versus scaling is so important. Do you touch on that? So I'm just thinking of who might want to sign up, because we're offering anyone that's done our advisor training, and in particular as well, people that have done our certification, but that need this extra support. We're offering you quite significant discounts. We don't want you to always feel like you have to do more. And I love what you said about that, which is that feeling of I don't have enough, and people always wanting to go on and do more trainings. And it always surprises me, like people will do the most advanced certification, and then they'll hear they're going on to the next thing. How is that balance? I mean, how do you work with the clients to really actually get their practices up and running and implement everything they've learned? Because that's what I'm hoping we can really embed through these series, is like that you've got enough to go for it now, or to at least get, start or scale.
Yeah. Look, first of all, I understand how let's just start with this. People with really good hearts, people who actually care and really want to help, they absolutely struggle with self-doubt. They doubt they have enough. They doubt they are ready. They doubt everything. So they often feel that the presence of doubt means I'm not ready. They also think they're meant to get rid of the doubt with certainty in order to move forward. And so one of the big aha moment, liberating wisdom pieces that I can offer is the only people who are absolutely certain are psychopaths, cult leaders, and sociopaths, and maybe really people with lack of integrity, salespeople, right? So that voice of certainty is a big pull for people who lack certainty, because it's a missing piece of the jigsaw. So you're attracted to the thing that you think you don't have. And it keeps people in the loop of buying certainty from the next course, from the next something. That's one of the primary reasons.
Fascinating.
The deepest, kindest thing you can do for yourself is to honor and respect your doubt, because it means you care. And your doubt turned into something helpful and beautiful is critical thinking, is questioning. It's what puts you on this path anyway. So instead of thinking that that is a problem, embrace it. So now you embrace your doubts, you listen to what it has to say. What if I don't know enough? That's a very good question. How do I check? So instead of like, oh, and just reflexing off that, how do I check? I know enough. Well, what's enough? So you use that critical thought, you use, and you go, well, what defines enough? Because if I decide what is enough, and then I show myself I meet that criteria, then it can no longer be an excuse, because it could be an excuse because of some other fear or some other thing going on. So what is enough? This is where my little motto, professional, not perfect. If you have the skills, if you have the knowledge, enough means, and here's my definition for everybody, can I facilitate meaningful change?
That's lovely.
And if the answer is a pretty strong yes, you know, like a more than 6 out of 10 yes, I feel I could facilitate meaningful change. Then you have enough to facilitate meaningful change. And you're not going to ever have the luxury of being sure. And that's okay. Because actually, if you arrive to meet a client with too much certainty, you're going to not hear them. We need to make room again for, I trust myself that if my little paddle boat hits the rapids, I trust myself to meet the rapids. I trust that the client and I are on a journey together and we don't know what's around the corner. But I trust that I have knowledge and skills, and that my client's also not like passive in this process, that it is a true partnership, that I don't have to tap dance and perform, because if I'm coaching, we are working together, and that we are going to paddle that road, that path together. We're going to, so this, Jane, being comfortable in the discomfort of uncertainty is one of the most important things I think coaches can, to be kind with themselves. And then the other thing is really just start very small with the lowest, to not create these big, or the first thing I'm going to do is run a 20 people workshop. You really lower the bar so much that it's like, what's the minimal thing that I can start with? It's like if I was a master chef, maybe it's like toast. You know,
love that.
Before you make a 3-course degustation, whatever, just make toast and
brilliant.
Just do something. Because that's the other thing, is the over planning, the over perfecting at your desk. Folks, you can't learn to swim sitting, Googling swimming, learning swimming from textbooks and data. You got to climb in the pool. And at some point, the only way to learn how to serve people is to serve people.
That's such an important, thank you. That is such an important point, is just around, we see so much of this in the coaching community, these massive coaches. I follow Tony Robbins, and I've been to some of his seminars where there were like 20,000 people, and it's like, right, how am I going to scale my business to next year have a 20,000 people seminar? Well, it's so great what you say, which is to change your story around expectations and build foundations.
Yeah. And that world doesn't, okay, there are anomalies. And, Anthony Robbins was one of the first. He was a pioneer in his time. There are anomalies, but today's world, where everyone can get a 20-second piece of fame, go viral probably once in their lives, it's different. It's a different world today. The in-demand information world. The other thing I wanted to say for your folks, and these are all such nice little sound bites, but we can no longer rely on selling information in order to be noticed and to be heard, because now information is the bare minimum, right? The barrier 20 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you could be ahead with new information. You can't anymore. You have to look at what else I can give, which is bringing it to life for people, customizing. The customized, whatever a human do that a bot can't do, that's where you have to shine. And the good news is you already have that. The knowledge, the data, all the things you think you need extra more of in order to get out there. And no, because they've got the data. They can get the data. The data is a little one bullet point sort of worthy piece for most people. It's the credibility. Okay, it's real. It's not fluffy little bit. And that's important, but it's only one bit. They want the human being. They want the person that they can partner with, the accountability partner. They want someone to listen. They want someone to see them. They want someone to hear them. And then for coaches, yes, because the world has changed, because you can no longer be an info merchant, sell information. It's the days of a webinar needing 200 people to be viable and a post needing hundreds of likes and engagement. SEO, if I can say, also is, I can say the word dead, but it's evolving, it's changing because of AI now. Nobody, SEO, and many of us relied on SEO for business. That's changing. It's all changing, folks. It's the age of connection now, and you can't get connection to 200 people in a easily. If you get 3 likes and 1 comment, pretend they're in your living room. You'd be, if they were in your living room, you'd be like so chuffed, and you would treat them with respect, and you would thank them. You'd look them in the eyeballs. You'd have a real conversation with them, because 3 people in your living room is pretty amazing, and you would treat them like a guest. But because we've got these scales of noise to brainwash us into thinking that you can't be successful unless you have these big, no, it's back to Seth Godin, the smallest possible viable market. And I'm going to add that starts with 1 person. And if you really pay attention to 1 human being and you connect to them and you offer them more than information and you connect and you prove you can help them by helping them, they're likely to tell 2 or 3 people. And those 2 or 3 people are likely to tell. And guess what? That's called business. And that didn't need a database of 15,000 with a Facebook ad campaign and a Google blah, blah ranking and a Alexa. It didn't need all of that.
I love that. So we've got a question that's come in that kind of ties into this that I want to get to before we wrap, because it's really relevant. It's from Masuda Kaji. Maz, so lovely to see that you're on here. We both know her well, and she brought you to us, so we're so grateful for that. Maz is saying, do the tools taught in this program apply just as successfully to a purely online coaching practice? And that's really interesting, is just if you can talk into that a little bit, is like online versus offline in coaching and how we work that.
The principle should always be the same. The principle should always be the same. In fact, the only time online really works is if it mimics as far as possible what would work offline. And so what I mean by that, when people build a website with the intention to feel the same way it would to sit and have coffee with them and actually have a conversation with a human being and build a relationship, your website's got a better chance at working. If you have a Zoom and you show up as a real human being and you put the same energy tone into that as you would if they were in your living room, you've got a better chance at making the Zoom work. It's a mindset thing. The screen feels like a barrier, but it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. So the exact principles work offline, online. They work for 1 person. They work for 100. They work for each pocket of people. They should work because it's about showing up. It's about connecting. It's about serving people at the highest level.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so just for those of you that are wanting to join, just so you're aware, this is a 5-part series with Colleen, and then there's a 2-part series attached to it with Tracy McBeath. And so Colleen's, what she's talked about today is really about Coach Business Revolution and how to build your business. And it's a 5-part series of lectures. It's $380. There are significant discounts for this bundle if you are an advisor or a coach. If you need the support, write to us. Please don't let cost be a limitation for you. Then the next part of that is a 2-part series by Tracy McBeath, who's one of our master coaches and our trainer. Hers is called Becoming the Coach You Need to Be. And she talks through her insights-based coaching, also an amazing resource of knowledge and a wealth of knowledge. You can either buy the series of just Colleen or the series of just Tracy, or you can buy them together as a bundle, which we always recommend. The bundle is just a little bit more than our typical electives, which are really short trainings. So we've priced it in a way that we hope is affordable for you, but also that gives value and brings value to the coach's time. This is a pilot. We're trying this out because we really want to bring more support and success to our coach and advisor community. So write to us, be engaged, join in if you can, give us feedback if you can't, let us know what you need from us, because what we're really trying to do is be here for you more and find ways to get you to win ultimately. That's our intention. We don't want to train coaches that aren't winning and actually working with us to reverse chronic disease. That's what we're here for. We're here to change the health of the world. And that takes every single one of you understanding coaching better. You don't have to have done the advisor or the coach certification to join this. You can be an existing coach. You can be working with clients and coaching them in a medical or nutritional capacity. Is that correct, Colleen? Are you happy to take people that aren't necessarily trained coaches? Yeah, so don't feel that's an impediment. Write to us if you've got any questions. Colleen, any last words on why everyone should sign up and come in? Or not everyone, we don't want a huge group for this one, but why some people should onboard and what they're going to get from it.
Yeah, if it's time, if it's time and you're just feeling like perhaps the right person and the right guidance, especially if you've been stuck with the niche idea, or if you just want traction, showing up with bells and whistles to really look after you as an individual and to meet you at your place of need. And so that within a year's time, you can look back and say, that was the turning point. I now have the coaching business I was dreaming of.
Colleen, thank you so much. This is for those of you that don't know Colleen and her journey well. I really recommend taking the opportunity to have direct access to her. I know many people have done her trainings, both personally and professionally, who I have seen fly and succeed and win in their coaching practices. So I really respect your work. Same with Tracy. You two are two of our most incredible master coaches. So if you're aspiring to become a master coach into the future, or you want to hone your master coaching skills, if you already are one, join us and join this series. I really recommend it. Thank you for your time today, Colleen. So lovely hearing your wisdom and chatting to you. Thanks everyone for joining. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.